Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much
Hello.
for coming.
You're
It's so
so
good
welcome,
to see
Tchera.
you. Yes, so good to see you in this
Thank
context, different context for us, where I usually see you
Exactly.
as a coach of my coach. I'm going to first introduce audience who might not be familiar with you.
Please.
Yeah. So Deborah Hurwitz is a productivity coach for perfectionists. Using her signature P.A.C.T system, Deborah Hurwitz helps ambitious professionals to break through the paralysis of perfectionism and procrastination so they can complete the projects and goals that matter most to them. She has been coaching me through this summit. Guys, thank you, Deborah.
My
Deborah is a
pleasure.
composer, conductor, and recording artist whose internationally acclaimed projects include Cirque du Soleil, Cyndi Lauper, and the Broadway-smash-hit Jersey Boys. She has written, arranged, and produced music for television shows ranging from Sesame Street to CNN Tonight. She has released two independent CDs as singer-songwriter Deborah Marlowe. Excuse me. And she has performed on The Tonight Show, the Tony Awards, and twice at the White House. As both a career artist and the CEO of Cobalt Coaching, Deborah has mastered the art of rewiring entrenched patterns, eliminating doubts and distractions to achieve remarkable industry successes while honoring her creative self-expression and personal integrity. She now helps a robust online tribe to do the same through her online shows and suite of coaching programs and courses. Deborah is also an award-winning speaker and co-author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, She Made It Happen: 22 inspiring stories from female entrepreneurs around the world.
Hell of an intro. I gotta remember to cut that one down. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much.
Yeah, which part would you cut down? It's full of good things that we like to know about you, no? Yes,
I'll defer to you on that. Thank
yes,
you.
yes. Hi, Deborah. So, perfectionists, productivity for perfectionists.
Yes.
Yes, workaholics, work martyrs are, I can speak for myself anyway. At
Mm-hmm.
least I would think a big major chunk of this population is perfectionists. Would you
Absolutely.
say? Yeah.
I would say absolutely. So anytime you're talking about the isms, right? Perfectionism,
Uh-huh.
workaholism, we're talking about a type of addiction or a type of drive. And I don't want to go too far into the addiction territory just because that gets into psychological, medical, sociological territory. But addiction in the sense of our systems are constantly seeking, constantly hungry for, constantly looking for that hit. And perfectionism and workaholism are closely related in the sense that we are driven to fix something that's wrong. We are driven to address a not enoughness or an insufficiency. And so workaholism and perfectionism are like an addiction to going in for more. It's not enough. It's never done. I'm never enough. I'm never done, right? Perfectionists tend to align or associate our work with our worth. So workaholism is a not really natural, but a usual outgrowth of some kind of perfectionism because we are thinking, I need to do more to earn my right to exist. I need to do more to earn my place in the world of things, right? I can't just be, I have to do. And I can't just do, I have to achieve. And I can't even just achieve, I have to achieve everything. I have to achieve perfectly, and I have to do it yesterday. Right? And so there's this drive, this deep drive, which I want to distinguish the drive of striving for excellence and expressing my purpose on planet Earth and all of the things that I know you're leading people towards. I want to distinguish that from the drive that is like an insatiable, depleting, draining drive to fix what's wrong or to measure up where I don't, or to close some sort of gap of enoughness or sufficiency. And those are two very different ways to be driven or to be motivated. And the ism is that kind of almost mindless. I don't want to, we're talking about, plain mind and things like that. So I don't want to say mindless in a casual way. but mindless in the sense that we're not consciously choosing that drive. That drive is choosing us, and we're going with it, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. Often, as in terms of your work martyrs and your workaholics, often to the detriment of our health, our relationships, and even ultimately the very professional success we're trying to achieve with the workaholism. So it's super tricky in that way.
Yes, yes, super related. Yes. What would you say are some of the distinguishing features of play mind in relation in as a position to this? Talking about mindlessness, I know this is not the mindlessness, yes, clearly, but
Yeah,
we can
well,
talk about.
play mind is not my term. I would love to know what you have to say about play mind. I'm happy to speak to it. You mean just like without knowing anything else, I would be guessing at what you mean by that. So
Uh-huh.
so I can talk about play and I can talk about mind, but tell me what it is for you, Tchera.
Yes, yes. For me personally, I have the play mind term from Tinley Norbu Rinpoche. His book called Magic Dance has a chapter called Play Mind, and
Hmm.
it talks about it is to me my understanding of it. It's endless, really. It's an endless phenomena, let's say. And to me, it is that which cannot be given to or taken away from someone. It is that most essential uh, nature of the self, which cannot be given to. Nobody can give it to me or to anyone else, or nobody can take it away either.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
always there, no matter what. So
Mm.
that's what I'm referring to as play mind. However, I also feel that just play mind, it's self-explanatory, and it has a resonance to everyone, just as without this information. So whatever
Gotcha.
it means
Gotcha.
to
Okay.
you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you're sort of basing it in this notion of like an essential self, which is not what I would know from the term play mind. If I hear play mind, first of all, I'm hearing play, right? And play is an essential component of our self-care, delving into our creativity and actually accessing the most creative solutions available to us in any given moment. Even when we're talking about tactical, practical, logical types of things, we need our right brain, our creativity, our ability to loosen things up, get curious, get compassionate around what's going on, observe our own feelings and thoughts around circumstances as opposed to just being like mired in them or associating with them. So play is a tool or a pathway or a frame even where you can access so much more of your brain, you can access so much more of the world around you and interpretations and solutions in the world around you. And to play, I often assign my clients pointless play, right? Because with perfectionists, we always have to be, again, earning our right to exist. There has to be a purpose to it. There has to be something we're getting out of it or some way we're accomplishing something with it. And so even play has to serve some sort of purpose. Am I making something valuable, or am I doing something good for my body, right? And no, sometimes play just absolutely needs to be pointless. That's the whole point, is that there is play without purpose. There is the willingness, the ability, and the permission to just go into whatever feels fun right now, whatever feels joyful right now, whatever my body wants to do right now and is telling me, whatever that funny little voice of, gosh, if I could do whatever I wanted, what would that be, right? That quality of play, that assignment or approach of play is so incredibly valuable. It's actually crucial to our full functionality, to our health, to our balance, to our emotional well-being, our spiritual flourishing, all of that. So that's the first thing I think of in play mind, is this is a way in which we're actually getting our whole mind online with play, as opposed to all the things that our world tells us needs to happen all the time. Get the work done, get the things done, make the people happy, cover the bases, have work-life balance, right? Like all these ways in which we drive ourselves crazy, thinking I have to do all the things and do them perfectly. Play mind is a way to actually relax that structure and counterintuitively to some perfectionists, because we think the more we drive and the more we push, right? And the overworkers and the Mars, the more we drive and the more we push, the more we make sure everybody else is happy, the more we micromanage everybody's experience, including our own, the better things will be. And the more I'll be able to relax after, right? And it's counterintuitive that playing now, relaxing now, letting go of some of those grips that we feel we have to have, or we believe we have to have now, is actually what brings more of that satisfaction and pleasure and ease and accomplishment that we're yearning for with the push. And so that's the play piece and the mind piece, sort of brought together. And the other thing that I think of as you were speaking about what it is, and just as I'm rolling this out, Tony Robbins has distinguished between the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. And I like to give the caveat of, like, whatever you say about Tony Robbins, and there's plenty to say, you cannot argue that the man is extraordinarily accomplished, and to my eye, to my perception, deeply congruent. Like, he's doing what he cares about doing. He's making the difference he's here to make. He's not just some like mogul that's all about profits. He's extraordinarily generous, extraordinarily connected, as far as I can see. And every time I hear him speak, I'm really moved by that piece, which is also so important, and is also what our work martyrs and workaholics are missing, right? We're missing that congruency where I'm doing what I mean and want to be doing. Even if we're in a field, like, I know I'm off it, I'll come back to the art of fulfillment in a second, but just even when we're in a field like social work or education or, academia, all these ways that, or creative pursuits, all these ways in which we start off with our hearts and souls and passions, but somehow along the way, things get suppressed or sidelined or twisted or distorted, such that what was a pure passion or a lot of joy or a lot of energy and pleasure becomes, either withered or turns into like a resentment, or turns into everybody else is getting and I'm not getting mine, or turns into I thought it was going to be like this, but it's like this, or turns into I'm not happy, so I'll keep trying to push and push more, right? All of these are under the umbrella of the science of achievement, which is identify the steps to achieve the goal, identify the goal, identify the steps to achieve the goal, take the steps, achieve the goal. Lots of stuff works really linearly like that. Even with bodies, which are kind of unpredictable and not machine-like, we can predict the achievements of muscle building, weight loss, cardiovascular health, respiratory health, that sort of thing, right? Even in the unpredictable landscape of certain careers and industries, you can predict that if you go out there and pound the pavement and talk to every person in the industry that you can and set up every lunch date that you can, you'll get somewhere with it, right? You can map out the science of achievement, learning, mastery of skills, that sort of thing. You can map out the science of achievement. But further to what you were saying in the very beginning, the play mind is the essence that is just yours, that no one else can touch, acquire, change ultimately, or even really know. The art of fulfillment is a very personal, to the self, essential to the self map of what actually makes you happy, what actually has you feeling rewarded and, well, fulfilled, right? And it's an art, because it's not a science like where you can map out the steps to achieve the goal. It's an art that's subjective. It's a way in which only you know, does this actually feel good, like deep in my system, all the way down to my toes? Does this lighten my heart? Does this lighten my day? Does this lighten my load, right? Like, does this channel love and joy for me? I have a program, Conduit, which is the one you're going into next, right? And that's like, we say conduit because at that level, it's not just me and mine. It's now, who am I for the world? What's my contribution, right? And being a conduit, being that channel, you got to have a sense of who you are, that essential piece of you that is, I get to say so. I am this, I want this, I feel this, I'm good at this, I love this, right? And self-acceptance comes into that, all sorts of ways that we may or may not be able to get into today. But that's all scooped into the art of fulfillment. And coming back to what I was saying about Tony Robbins, as I said, say what you will about the guy, he is a master of that art, and you can see it. And for our work martyrs, whether you identify as martyr or not, because I know that's a super tricky term for some people, but if you identify as perfectionistic, like I want it to be great, or I want to do the right thing, or you identify as workaholic, like I know I'm working too much, but I somehow can't stop. That's where you want to take a look at, okay, are you in the hamster wheel of keep achieving, keep achieving, keep achieving, or keep trying to achieve, trying to achieve, trying to achieve? And have you maybe lost or not yet given yourself permission to access the connection to yourself that makes this all worthwhile, that has this getting you out of bed has you getting out of bed in the morning for this, as opposed to, oh my God, another day where I have to, right? Is there a way in which this is connected to what you would like and why you would like that? And it's really, I think, incredibly useful, coming back to what we were saying before about what is that drive? Is the drive to achieve because you know this is the path towards your contribution in life and the revelations of your higher self? Or is it the drive to achieve like I have to because I'm not enough and it's not enough and I'm not done and I'm never done? It's those two things, those two pathways, those two dynamics have very different energetic qualities to them. They feel different in your body. They feel different in your mind. They look different in your calendar. They sound different in your conversations, right? And I think it's one of the most important distinctions that we can have on the path to recovery, the isms, right? Recovery of workaholism, a recovering workaholic, a recovering perfectionist. One of the most important distinctions we can have on that path to recovery is, am I paying attention to myself? Am I actually taking care of myself and my mission and my desires in these choices? Or am I actually draining, depleting, and hurting myself with these choices? Really important distinction that I hope will help our audience get today.
Yes, I've been thinking as you were speaking about just this kind of the cross line of procrastination and the inner critic, because how, sometimes I find myself getting into things, putting the last minute deadlines so that so then
Yeah.
then I just have to do it. So it's a thin line with the quieting the inner critic and where does procrastination come in this journey? If I'm a workaholic, I'm a work martyr. To
Yeah.
me, the difference is kind of work martyr is like a step further than workaholism, because
Sure.
now
With
you have,
martyr, yeah, with the martyr you have, and it's good to distinguish those terms. With the martyr, you have the additional step beyond the addiction to work or the I'm going to say escape, and I'll explain that because procrastination has to do with escape. Procrastination, avoidance, escape are all in the same bucket. And workaholism itself can often be an escape where I don't feel safe in my system or in myself or in my life to pay attention to some of these harder feelings or deeper feelings. I am not equipped, or I don't have the emotional wherewithal or the tools to be present to the full picture of what is so in me right now, or be in the situation that I'm in right now. So I'm going to escape it, and I'm going to escape into work. That was me for many years. I had personal circumstances that were extremely challenging. I was not emotionally equipped to actually be present to them in a way that would have me change what was intolerable. So instead of actually being present to the fact that I was tolerating the intolerable, I simply went to work and made my life work that way. It's a really good looking addiction, right? I mean, it's like, oh, I'm just such a workaholic. I just have to work all the time, just like buried in my work. My work is everything right now. Sounds great. It's a great narrative. We buy that in the Western world, in the capitalist world. That's like A-okay, right? As opposed to like, I'm a crack addict or a heroin addict or, or even a phone addict, right? It's like, oh, I'm a work addict. I'm addicted to doing good work. It just sounds so good. So I had a really great sounding narrative, but really it was just another form of escape. No different from, fuck it, I'm not going to write the song or the book. I'm sorry, we're cursing. I'm not going to write the song or the book. I'm not going to work on my passion project. I'm not going to go into anything that could actually change my life. I'm not going to have the hard conversation or send the scary email. I'm going to, get stoned and order a pizza, and we'll just deal with all of this tomorrow, right? There's no difference really between the escapism of one versus the escapism of the other. One might look more productive, but in terms of the impact on your system and ultimately the impact on your life, there's no difference. You're just deferring the thing that will actually change what you want changed. And with work martyrdom, it's the escapism piece where we're not only escaping into work, but we're further escaping the consequences and impact of all that work, which is the resentment, the draining, the depleting that arises when we are made to work, whether by ourselves or by others. And sometimes the line gets murky with pleasers and martyrs, right? that we are making ourselves or being made to continue far beyond what's healthy, far beyond what leaves us feeling sane and whole and fulfilled and happy, far beyond. And we can't stop it. We feel powerless to stop it. I can't stop it. And it's up to you to make it better for me. And you're not doing what you need to do to make it better for me. Now I'm in martyrdom. Ultimately, as you said, around play mind and the essential nature, there's only so far anyone else can get into our own being and our own doing. And the same with martyrs, when we've pushed ourselves far beyond, it is actually, and I say this with all the love and the respect in the world, because there are brilliant, brilliant people with gigantic hearts doing beautiful things for the world that are doing what I'm about to say right now. And we're doing our best, always making the best choice available on our menus at the time. But when you are in that martyrdom place, where you're in a place where you feel angry, feel resentful, feel frustrated, and you feel like there's nothing you can do about it, something or someone else out there has to change, that is a delusion that keeps you stuck in spinning and gets you off the hook for creating the change you want. And that's the good news and the bad news. If you can tolerate the bad news of, oh, actually, I am at cause in this situation, I am at cause in the choices I make and the actions I take, then you can also appreciate the good news that you can do something about it. And you don't need to wait for someone or something else to change. And before you say, oh, but my circumstances, oh, but my schedule, oh, but my boss, oh, but my family, oh, but my body or medical concerns, know that there are people who have been in the most adverse circumstances you can imagine, who have forged incredible wholesale changes in their lives. I promise you, it's not the circumstances. It's what you're telling yourself about the circumstances, and it's what you're telling yourself about you. And when you can have, and I always recommend, like, we're not meant to do this work on our own. Get coaching, get support, talk to Tchera, go, talk to all the other experts on this summit, get what you came for here, right? Get the support, get the coaching, get the mentorship. To have that way through, someone to hold your hand, a tool, a piece of accountability, a community. These things all really matter to help you learn. Yes, I can make a change that I haven't previously thought I could make. Yes, I can take an action I previously thought I couldn't take. Yes, I can have a different outlook or a different interpretation of a situation that seemed so real and so unchangeable, it might as well be a brick wall. But sometimes we can melt the brick walls when we change what our mind is doing with it. So does that answer your question? Oh, wait, we didn't get to procrastination. So procrastination, all that lays the groundwork for explaining procrastination as an avoidance mechanism. So let's say you're a work martyr, or let's just say you're calling yourself a workaholic. And let's say there's something that you mean to be doing, and it might be something that's part of the job you're already working tons too many hours on, or it might be something entirely different, the side hustle, the workout you keep meaning to get to, but there's never time because you're so exhausted after work, or you can't bring yourself to get out of bed a half hour earlier because you're already so exhausted. The date you mean to go out on, but you can't like get the app profile together because you're so tired, right? Whether it has to do with your job or it doesn't, there's something that you care about doing. There's something that you want to be doing. And procrastination is when something in your system says, no, please, not now. And there are a million reasons that will happen. But they all come down to thinking about this brings up a feeling I don't like. Thinking about this brings up a state I do not want. And I do not want to engage that state or feel that feeling, so I will defer and not do this thing right now. Now, it can be the feeling of fear of failure. I'm starting a new thing, or I'm doing something daunting or ambitious. I don't know how. I don't know whether I can. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know the first steps to take. All of that feels really overwhelming. And in my system, I cannot tolerate the prospect of failure. So I will just not do that today. That's one kind of feeling that will produce procrastination. Another feeling is I'm already so freaking tired. I have already worked so many hours. I am already so put upon. I am beleaguered. I am drained and depleted. Please do not ask me to do one more thing. I can't do it. I just can't. And I'm out. And because if we are in a workaholic place, if we're in a perfectionistic, addicted to the go, go, go place, we're more tuned into the external metrics of success, whether that's other people's validation or the checking off the boxes that the rest of the world sees. We're more tuned into that external metric of validation than we are tuned into our own internal metrics of success. Again, the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment. So when you're so tired, I can't do one more thing. Why are you that tired? Because you've made choice after choice after choice after choice, consciously or unconsciously. Again, I say this with respect and compassion. I get how this happens. I was that person. You've made choice after choice after choice to go for that external metric, to tap the dopamine hit of this feels good. This will make me look good. This sounds good. This achieves something that'll make things better out there. This makes $1, whatever it is. And you're choosing consciously or unconsciously again and again to deplete yourself thusly, which means that when it comes time for the thing that's actually important to you inside your soul's calling, the thing you keep meaning to do, the thing you're going to be doing when you're living your real life, not this shitty practice life you're stuck in right now, that stuff then no longer gets the energy. That stuff no longer has sufficient bandwidth that to get your attention, because you've chosen again and again to deplete and drain yourself elsewhere. That's again where, with all due respect, I say, take a look. It's not just, oh, I did all these things that I had to do and now I'm tired and I'm not going to do the thing that I want and mean to do. It's, I've made choices to go with that version of success versus this version of success. And I promise you, because again, I was there, not enough money, not enough time, strung out, stuck, hamster wheel, no way to get off, no way to make a different choice. I know how that feels. And I tell you from firsthand experience, you can make a different choice in just one moment to do just one tiny little thing that you think is a drop in the bucket that won't make a difference, except it will. Because it's not about the amount of time you take, and it's not even about what you get done. It's about your willingness to put your attention on what matters to you over the urgent fires that are knocking at your door. That takes courage. That takes a kind of rapport with yourself where you're acknowledging, actually, this does matter to me. And actually, that can wait. And it's really hard to make those choices in a vacuum. It's really hard to make those choices at all. But that, in fact, is the only kind of choice that ultimately gets you where you want to go, into those big changes and into fully restoring and rejuvenating your poor, tired, workaholic self. Does that help?
So much so, so beautifully said. Thank you, Deborah. You are speaking from experience.
I
It
really am.
sounds like. Yes.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
Yes. How
All the
about
things I'm
how
talking
about
about, I did them. I did them all.
yeah, yeah. And here you are, out not doing that anymore.
Not doing it anymore. And
So
not perfect. Can I just say, please, one of the things when I first coming out into the entrepreneurial world, and I saw this kind of like before and after story again and again, where it was like, I used to be like this and I had all these problems and all these concerns and I was living close to the bone and I was unhealthy or whatever it was. And now, and I did this thing that I'm selling you that I teach now, right? And now I did this thing and now everything's perfect and I never have a bad day and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I just no, because no. And when I first started seeing that, I was so skeptical because I myself was super burned out and skeptical, beyond skeptical into cynical. I was depressed. I was depleted. I felt like I know I'm better than this. What the bloody hell, And so these sort of fast and slick solutions of like, I was terrible and then I did a thing and now everything's amazing all the time. It just landed as so false with me and so smarmy and salesy, right? It's like, buy the thing so you can have the perfect life. Think the right thoughts so
overnight,
you can have the perfect life. What?
overnight.
Overnight, exactly, right. $1 million in 5 minutes. Here you go, right? It's like, oh my God, right? And so I know that stuff is false. So I just want to make the case for it. And then when I was learning that entrepreneurial journey, I myself said, and I remembered like it was yesterday, talking to my coach at the time, saying, I don't think I can do that whole my story thing. I can't do it like that. It's bullshit. I'm making this video right now about all the ways that I've solved problems or how you can solve your problems, and I'm still procrastinating on making the damn video. How can I preach to the choir? And she was like, tell the truth. And I was like, God bless you. Thank you. And I did. And that was like a real turning point for me. It was like, yes, I can still learn online marketing and messaging and how to be an entrepreneur and all these new things to me coming out of show business and coming out of network marketing. I was learning so many new things. I was learning what kind of entrepreneur I was. I was learning what kind of coach I was. I didn't start out even intending to be a coach, right? It's just all these things sort of rolled out. But I realized, oh, one of the things I was burned out on was pretending. I was burned out on pretending more than anything. And so in this new life that I'm creating, I get to stop freaking pretending. I get to tell the truth. I tell, as you know, I'll tell my clients all day long, I am bulletproof because I will make mistakes in front of you and not die, which perfectionists and workaholics have real trouble with, right? The fear of failure is very high.
Big
So,
time.
so yeah, so I was like, so let me just say that as an aside, the whole before after entrepreneur story is not actually true for any human being. We are human beings, not human doings, human beings. We are animal bodies, not machines. Even machines need to go down sometimes, right? Human bodies need to rest and restore on a regular basis. Sleep deprivation is equivalent to alcohol consumption. Your brain starts to go real quick when you don't have sleep. You can live without food for a few days, actually weeks. You can live without water for a few days, but you will start to go crazy without sleep after 2 nights. And it's all the research on sleep deprivation is crazy, right? So we must rest. We must rest. And when we rest, we want to restore and rejuvenate. So we are human beings. We are imperfect. And by imperfect, I don't mean you're doing stuff wrong and you're not enough. I mean, you're imperfect as in the perfection is in the presence. The perfection is in being who you are and having the room to splash around and play, back to play mind, experiment, learn what works and what doesn't, go and be able to see a thing and do a thing and feel a thing and notice what there is about that and notice what you want to shift and how you want to evolve. That's the beautiful imperfection that looks like progress and achievement and ultimately satisfaction and fulfillment. So we get to make mistakes. We get to totally conquer procrastination on one project and then procrastinate again on the next one. We get to achieve some beautiful set of rituals and habits and routines that really serve us. And then we get to fall off that wagon and step onto a new one. We get to ebb and flow with our energy. We get to give ourselves permission to feel how we feel and do it anyway, or feel how we feel and honor the feeling and do something else, right? It's like each of us we are a 1 in 8 billion unique soul with a unique blueprint and unique needs. And back to play mind, this you and you alone can say what your structures are, what your needs are. You and you alone can meet those needs and declare boundaries and standards such that those needs get met. So yeah.
Beautiful. I want to thank you for two things. I want to share
Yes.
this one. The first one, really, the trap of this overnight conquering all and coming
Yes.
out pure
Yeah.
is really,
Coming up pure. I love that.
yes, coming out this all good thing that it's
Where's the
inhuman.
truth?
It's really big thing.
Yeah.
And and it doesn't, in my, it doesn't end actually. One of my teachers used to say, do you know what's better in how imperfection is better than perfection?
No.
Perfection doesn't have imperfection in it, but imperfection has perfection in it.
I love it. I love it. That's great. I
Yeah,
love to do
yeah.
that.
So
Terrific.
yeah, I was just experiencing actually the other day with one of the interviews with Mark Andreas. He walked us through a process with metaphors of movement, and I delved into this really kind of deep metaphor. And then later on, I was thinking, oh my goodness, like I'm supposed to be like holding it up here in this context. And then I thought, ah, you know that's how it goes. Definitely not,
Yeah.
it's good to be able to give oneself the permission to be vulnerable and to, the pretending is really, in my experience, it's the one number one major thing to have
Absolutely.
to wear all the masks,
Yes. Yeah.
with different masks in different contexts.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
very wearisome. So,
Yeah.
so if we could just take off somehow the masks and be vulnerable with each other,
Yeah. As
then it's okay.
Yeah. As you're saying
Yeah.
that, it occurs to me when I'm thinking of martyrs. And again, maybe martyr is a tricky term. Maybe you just consider yourself to be someone that is just doing so much for so many all the time and not really getting a chance to take care of you and not experiencing others, acknowledging or caring for you. And maybe that's just how it is, that you're just in this state of like a deficit where you're just doing so much more for others than anything that's happening for yourself. And that when we're talking about masks and pretending, like you're spinning all the plates for all the people all the time and pretending it's okay, pretending you're good there. And all the while, the innermost parts of you are so hungry for recognition, hungry for acknowledgement, hungry for care. hungry for compensation, whether that's financial or otherwise, hungry for balance, the giving and the taking. And so I suggest two things with that. One is, take a look, really, what is your capacity to receive? Like if somebody knocked on your door and said, I'm here to love you, right? If somebody knocked on your door and said, I'm here to give you a pay raise, how would that actually feel? Because sometimes when we're in that martyred, locked up place, we're saying and feeling, I wish, I need, if only. But we're not actually set up in our nervous systems, in our subconscious programming to receive it. And it can come knocking on our door and we will send it away. So when you feel like you're in that space, I want you to try on, what is it that you're missing? And if you could actually get it, how would that feel? Are you prepared to receive it? How would it look? What would change? How would that be? Is it actually okay with you not to be angry and frustrated? Is it actually okay with you to feel at peace with yourself, knowing you have done enough and you are enough? How does that land in your system to even contemplate that? That's a really good place to start. And the other piece is there one person you can tell how you really feel? Is there one person you can stop pretending with? And when I say stop pretending, I don't just mean vent and bitch. Right? Because we do have those people that play those different roles in our lives. There's the people where it's like, everything's amazing, I'm fine, and have it all well in hand. And then there are the people where it's like, oh my God, you wouldn't believe, and da 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 da. And that's just a different kind of restriction. Now I'm only that upset, bitchy, resentful, critical person. The joy doesn't have a chance to show up there. The anger doesn't have a chance to show up there. We're still walling off places, walling ourselves off, pretending, right? Because when you're just in bitch moan mode, you're also pretending that you didn't choose where you are in some way. And somehow or another, even if it was 20 years ago when you first took the job, you did make a choice. And a lot of stuff has rolled out from that. And none of it is your fault. However, you continually choose where you are by the decisions you make every day. So if you really wanted to stop pretending, it's not just, I put on a face over here and over here I am who I really am. No, what if you like really stopped pretending, even if it's just to yourself or a journal or one person that you really trust, and you let the whole picture be present? Like, yeah, I got myself into this mess, or I hate how this person did this thing to me and I feel so powerless. And also, here's what I would like. And here's, if I felt empowered in my own life, if I could make changes, here's what I would make the change to do or say or have. And here's why. Here's what matters to me. That's the not pretending. It's not just being in reaction to what's so, or judging what's so, or playing the blame game on what's so. It's, what would I like? Why does that matter to me? Am I willing to say it? Am I willing to take one step forward into it? And then get freaking help to do that. Y'all martyrs, don't ask for help. Ask for the help to get there. There are people standing by to help you. Us too, starting with us too. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about maybe with our little time left here, I can ask you the last question from
Please.
Cyndi Lauper Rinpoche's, also in this chapter of Play Mind. He talks about how separation is the root of all frustration and anger, which relates to what you were just saying. And
so that's a
yeah,
super
and
meta.
also, and yes, excuse me, yes, and
Yeah, go ahead.
also with work martyrs,
Mhm.
the term to me has a flavor of some some pride, let's say, some pride of choosing to sacrifice the self. You know, so there's a pride element in there that is also to do with separation, because yeah,
I'm better than, I work
yes,
harder than,
exactly. Yes.
sure, absolutely. I totally get that. The first thing that I thought of when you said separation is, and I want to give lots of credit to Jill Bolte Taylor here, author of Whole Brain Living, which I think should be required reading for every human. In that, yes, how separation is the source of all frustration is that separation exists in the left brain. as Jill Bolte Taylor, she has characters 1 and 2 in the left brain, characters 3 and 4 in the right brain. We have right feeling and thinking, left feeling and thinking. So we don't just have 2 hemispheres, we have 4 quadrants. And without getting into all of the stuff about the characters, both of our left quadrants, the left feeling and left thinking, as she calls them characters 1 and 2, that's where all separation or sense of separation of self lives. Only in the left brain. That's the neurophysics of it. That is the neuroscience. That's just scientific fact. Our experience of ourselves as separate lives in the left brain. In the right brain, all is one, all is here. I am part of the collective consciousness. There's no difference between me and you. There's no separation between the atoms. It's all just energy flowing around. It's all here. It's all now. It's all bliss. So separation only exists in the left brain, which not coincidentally is also where all frustration lives. The experience of frustration, of being thwarted, the experiences of anger, terror, fear, any of the charged emotions, including gigantic joy and elation, all live in the left feeling brain.
Overthinking, overdoing.
Overthinking, overdoing, combination of left thinking, left feeling, characters 1 and 2. So yes, in a purely neuroscientific way, separation is the cause of frustration. Absolutely. Because it's just where that shit lives in our brain, right? In a more meta level, the experience of being separate, I'm with you on the judgment, right? Judgment is separation is a function of judgment. I am separate from, I judge myself to be, better, worse, combination, right? Usually the more harshly we judge ourselves, the more harshly we judge others. And that triangulation gives us this above and aside and separate, in a way that the ostensible judgment is you're not doing something right, I'm better than you. But really the deep-seated judgment is against the self, and we're afraid of the other. And the separation is a safety mechanism. So, and that's a whole other conversation that we don't have time for right now. But yeah, the idea that we are separate, one can say, is an illusion. Now, our lived experience has us in these bodies, where the brain's job is to keep the body alive, and the body is contained in this skin sac filled with bones and flesh and blood. So in that way, it's very important that we know we are separate, because the brain's only taking care of this bunch of cells, not your bunch of cells.
Also, that's how we can judge what to eat and what not, right?
Right, exactly. So it's important. Yeah, it's important to be in those, in touch with those messages. However, the separation can become painful when we're into those different sets of needs, like our need to belong or our need to have contribution and significance. In that way, it's vital that we feel connected, and feeling separate can be very painful and, of course, frustrating. So in terms of the work martyr, the workaholic, right, where can I look at how I belong as opposed to how I am separate? Where can I acknowledge my need to belong? Where can I acknowledge that all of this work and all of this toil is, in the end, a desire to connect and contribute, or a desire to create and connect and contribute? Is what I'm doing really serving that? Or am I just in the toil of getting someone else's validation?
Beautiful questions. Yes. Beautiful
This is
questions.
helpful.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. I have so many more questions for you, and I hope we can get together again sometime.
Go part 2.
5 more hours of this,
Sounds good.
slowly and surely. Thank you.
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you, everyone.